Warning: the following video may have language that some viewers may find offensive, and others are already offended. Viewer discretion is advised, but not really. No animals were hurt in the making of this 4-hour feature film.
Pretty cool. And we have the Real Living Rural Elgin Agricultural Magazine. Okay? That's one I want to take a look at too, a little deeper, because I haven't even actually seen this. But do you know who does these magazines? It's a fella I met. It's been a few years now, and you can't miss him once you know him. He's a big dude. Yeah, he's a big dude. So we're going to welcome today to the show the fella that's all behind these magazines, and there are other communities too that he does these. So welcome, Geoff Rae.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, great. I been wanting to get you in for a while.
Yeah.
Talk about these magazines, because local publishing is important.
It is, and it's something like I always say, like the smaller the community, the more important something local that represents them is, and that's why, Villager Publications and my magazines have done so well.
I grew up in a very small town, Mitchell. At the time when I grew up there was only, I think it was 2,700 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably around 7,000 now, something like that. But the one thing I find with St. Thomas in our area is it doesn't matter where you go, even though we may be 40,000 people, it has that hometown, small town feel.
Yep.
So many people, in yet we are a city, but yet the whole atmosphere is friendly.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you can walk downtown and see the same people. You have no idea who they are, but you've been downtown enough times, and they're downtown enough times that you know who they are, but you may not actually.
Yeah, just personally, you don't know them, but you're probably waving.
Yep.
Saying good morning, good afternoon, just hi, whatever, right? Now, we used to have a local paper. It was called the Mitchell Advocate. I know a lot of the paper, of course, Stratford, we had the Beacon Herald. A lot of local papers gone now.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's still nice to see the Elmer Express still going. Times Journal, I don't even know. Is Time Journal, does it even still have a paper?
It's still here.
Is it?
It's hard to. It's hard. I'm not knocking them, but
no.
It's they don't have high visibility for sure.
Yeah.
Myself, I came from a paper background. I had started working in London for London Community News, which became Our London, and then
I remember that.
Yeah. Then they bought the St. Thomas Elgin Weekly News, and when Terry Carroll retired.
Yes.
And then Linda Axelson retired. I got moved out here to be the sales manager because I lived here. And we were doing really well as a newspaper in a time where newspapers weren't doing so hot.
Right.
We had a readership survey that showed we had 87% readership, which for a free community newspaper is unheard of.
Yeah.
But due to, big newspaper politics, we got traded and closed.
Oh.
And so, and that's sort of what became the catalyst for the magazines. I enjoyed my buyout. I had worked very hard. So I enjoyed a few months of just relaxing. And after about 4 months of that, I said to Staci, my wife, and I was like, we could do this.
Mm-hmm.
We do it a little bit differently. I take some of the lessons learned from the newspaper. And, she was a professional writer. I was a professional salesperson. The two of us could.
Okay, so writing wasn't your forte.
Oh God, no! Most of my English teachers would be shocked. I write for a living.
Would they really? That you actually have a
publication? Spelling and grammar are not my friends. Thank God for programs like Grammarly and things like that. And I work with a copy editor as well because I want to make sure that it's not just computer correct. It's actual.
Yeah.
It's readable and it's acceptable grammar and that sort of thing.
So as a publisher in that, just kind of sideline this, but what are your thoughts on AI? Do you like? I would think you'd kind of hate it because it could make some people that you want authentic stories, but it's doing it.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag. I mean,
Yeah.
in some ways, if people rely on it too much, it's easy to tell,
Yeah.
and it doesn't produce the personal touch that people want to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I use it all the time for idea generation.
See,
Or
I was just going to say that because I have used it for if I'm doing a show intro
yeah,
or an advertisement of something coming up, I'll just put in what I want. It writes it, and then sometimes I have to edit it a little bit.
oh yeah. I mean,
tweak it.
it's not always genius, but
Yeah.
you know what? Sometimes, just yesterday, I was doing an interview with somebody for a business I really don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So I said, what are some questions for an interview about this topic? And some of them were very general, but some of them asked very specific questions, which I never would have
And you were
asked.
probably thinking, "Oh, I never thought of that."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it has its benefits.
Okay.
It's also, I think a lot of people rely on it too much, and it becomes too easy to lose track of what you're good at.
Yeah.
If even if
Yeah.
you're great at doing what you're doing, if you rely on AI too much, then
Yeah.
you become a little less focused, and the product just isn't as good.
Yep. Yep. That's like I was never a good writer. So all my life, I basically when I print. I just never. And now when I do write, I find it really hard because I've just
Mhm.
not practiced in it. I guess I can write, but I've watched people write like full page, and they go. And no, I never got into that. But I just always printed. I don't know. It's just
I
something
can't even read my own writing, so
you can't even read your
that's
own.
why whenever I interview people, Staci always had a notebook, and when I interview people, it's a recorder.
Yes.
And that way I can actually recall what the conversation was, because if I look back at my writing, I'm
That's
only going to pick about half
this
of it.
little recorder here, the Roland there.
Yeah.
It's done so many that way. Oh yeah, that's for sure. So let's talk about Staci for a sec because I
Sure.
met her. Oh my gosh, I don't know. You and I, Staci, we met at Steamers, I think it was.
Streamliners, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We did I think it was for the Legion. I think we were doing a story.
The first time we interviewed you was for the
Yeah,
Legion.
yeah. And that was the first time I met Staci. We sat there and we had some coffee and chatted and did the story. So how'd you meet Staci?
We met online before it was cool.
Oh, you did an online thing. Okay.
AOL back in the day.
Yeah.
We talked forever online, and then eventually got together.
Now,
and-
was Staci in a chair back then?
No, well, yes and no. Like, she was
Okay.
never fully in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Staci had spina bifida, which
Spina bifida.
made
Okay.
long distance walking a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then there were times like when she was pregnant, the doctor basically said you had to stay in the chair because her balance wasn't great at the best of times.
Yeah,
So
so for just safety.
just for safety
Baby.
and that
Yep.
sort of thing. So yeah, but she
Okay.
loved writing. She
Yeah.
was she went to school for magazine and book publishing, ironically.
Oh, did she? Okay.
It was a very, very exclusive course that she was in, so she was very proud to get into it. But she was a writer, but she always said, "I'm not a journalist." So I would always get her lots of jobs working with the newspaper, but never interviewing people. She just wanted to write stories.
Okay, all right.
And that was one of the real challenges she had at first when we started the magazines. Is she was in charge of editorial, but she didn't she was very introverted and shy. So often I would come out and be the spokesperson and ask the questions, and she would be in the background recording the answers. And
Okay.
if there was a question that she wanted to get out there, she would ask. But as the years went on, she got more and more comfortable with it. So it was, and she loved meeting people. It was one of those things where she was very shy and, as I said, introverted. But once she got into it, she really loved being part of the community because neither of us are from St. Thomas.
Right.
So it was a great way to meet more and more people.
Now, I'm not from here either, but don't you find it very home feeling here?
It is. I mean, I love it here, and
yeah.
I've converted a lot of my friends and family into moving to St. Thomas.
Did you?
But
Poor buggers.
the one thing I find is if you didn't go to high school here,
Yeah.
it's like that's the cutoff. If you went to high school
really?
here, people will accept you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
After that, it's like, oh, you didn't. So many people
Okay.
know each other from school, and it's like, well, I didn't go to school here.
You're hanging out with the wrong people. It's a bad crowd over there.
No. They're very friendly, but there's those deep connections you build in school that it's hard to build elsewhere.
I mean, I can always. I remember them telling. I think it might have even been my dad many years ago, but said, at any point in my life, I could be 75 and move back to Mitchell, and that's always my home.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter, you can always go home at some point. I had a chance to do that quite a few years ago, but I chose not to because I knew that it wouldn't be what I remembered.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
So most of everybody, my connections, they've either grown, moved away, or gone now. They've passed away. There are still areas in where I grew up in Mitchell that still look identical to when I used to play out on the streets with my neighbor and my best friend, and wagons and our dinky cars and all kinds of stuff that we did. Road hockey. That still looks identical.
Yeah.
I still remember when those streets were gravel.
Okay. Well, that must have been fun for road hockey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I grew up in London. I'm about 1 year away from living in St. Thomas, being here longer than I lived in London.
Okay.
But I look back and go, "There's no way I'd move back to London."
No.
It's just so different, and a lot of people I know live out here now.
27 years I lived in Grand Bend. Once we left the Mitchell Stratford area. Again, okay, Port Stanley. Now Grand Bend being a town on the lake, very different culture than to Port Stanley too, because Grand Bend, we had 21 bars back in the day, in the early 90s. 21 bars, town of 900 people. The Legion, in 1992, I was the third vice president of the Legion. That was our community center. We had nothing else. Port Stanley at least they have the Legion, but they have the arena. We didn't have any of that. So the Legion was the hub for the community. Everybody know council. You all knew the mayor. Everybody, it was just pre-annexation when that all happened, and Lambton Shores was created, and they amalgamated everything, and it changed it drastically. That whole area up there. I still go back every once in a while. I drive by my house that I used to own, and I think about the life I once lived. My wife passed away in 2013. February 12th, I believe it was. So we just had that anniversary date come up. And I often think about, now that I think of with you, and I walk my dog at West Ave all the time, and we've cut through different areas, and I've seen where Staci is, and that's where I'm going to be. I've seen that's your future home there too. I've seen it. So we're going to be neighbors at some point in the future. I'm down by the mausoleum area, but I have a plot that I've already bought. It's right on the corner of the road, so I know it's going to be the dog stop. So,
well, it's funny because we did a doors open tour on Staci's birthday a few years before she passed. Yeah. Steve Peters took us on a tour of the St. Thomas Cemetery and basically gave us the history of different different markers and different things, and we loved it, and we just thought it was so interesting, and we both said at the time, it's like this seems like a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Staci's dad's down the road at Holy Angels, but
okay, all right.
We really loved St. Thomas Cemetery, and I mean it's weird to think about, but
it is a nice cemetery.
It is a beautiful cemetery, and with great history, and just a good view of.
Hey, all the years I drove Cox cabs here in town, and I used to get home 3-4 in the morning. Of course, Leslie Buchanan, who used to be the manager there, and I got to know her really well. We used to live right at just off the cemetery on Henry Street in Chester. And I used to walk my dog in there at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. All the time I get off work, I take my dog. She was raised in that cemetery. And I remember people used to say, "Oh, that's creepy. Like, how can you walk around there?" I said, "It doesn't bother me at all." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Why would I?" I said, those are my future neighbors. They're not gonna bug me. But there's a lot of history. So you and Staci then decide that you'd say to her, "Hey, we can make this work."
Yeah.
And so how did you make this dream come out?
Well, I mean, I had met with Barb Botten, who is the publisher of Villager Publications, of which we print through.
Okay.
We had talked about me maybe becoming a salesperson for the magazines she does in London. And I said, well, really, I'd rather do my own. Basically take the template you've got here, bring it out to St. Thomas. I got to change the name because, Villager, all the other Villager publications are, the Wortley Villager, the, Port Stanley Villager, Lambeth Villager. I was like, St. Thomas is a good city. So calling it a Villager wouldn't work. So we came up with a different name. But, Staci was a writer. I was a salesperson. I knew a lot of businesses because I'd been doing business here for a few years prior to that.
Okay.
And, I just told her, like, the community loved local content, and there wasn't a lot of local content out there. Like, My FM does a great job,
Yep.
But 15-second snippets.
Yeah.
If we wanted to tell a bit deeper stories, and really we wanted to try to find different stories.
Yep.
So we originally launched the magazine with the idea of we were going to focus on food, fun, fashion, and family here in St. Thomas. One of the reasons why we went St. Thomas versus, St. Thomas Elgin is a lesson I learned with the newspaper. We'd get calls from Elmer or Dutton saying, "Hey, we had this event. You guys didn't come out and cover it." And my response usually was, "Did you tell us about it? No? Well, then how did we know?"
Yeah.
But I really wanted to focus in on, so I didn't have to get those phone calls. And I wanted people to know, okay, if it's outside of St. Thomas, it's outside of my sort of realm of interest. But, we launched it in June 2018. Our first issue had the train at the roundabout on it, and, that really grabbed a lot of people's attention. So we started with a much smaller print run. We were mailing out to about 5,000 homes with
You were mailing at that time?
We were mailing it. Well, I knew that was the key.
Yeah.
There's been other publications that have tried the drop-only locations and that sort of things, and it's not as successful because people, some people will pick it up, some people won't.
Yeah.
But if it's in their mailbox, they'll give it a read. And these days, the only thing you get in your mail is, bills for the most part. So I figured
that's right.
Something exciting and local might really garner some attention.
Yeah.
And so, we launched it and we, put out a 20-page magazine for the first issue, which was much more than people were expecting. I even had people at the very beginning say, like, "Can you really do a magazine every month about St. Thomas?" And I said, "Yeah, there's so much going on here."
Yeah, there is.
And we can focus on all sorts of different things. And so there's really never a shortage of stories. Even my biggest issue I'm working on right now is 64 pages. I've already got the stories lined up, and there's some on the back burner, just in case. There's always lots to talk about here in St. Thomas.
Wow, that's 64 pages.
Well, it's the home show. That's
right.
We
That's
do
coming
the home
up
show
April.
guide,
Yes,
and then we do a home renovation. And April also has National Volunteer Week.
Okay.
And so one of the things we really, again, learned from the newspaper was we love our volunteers in this community. We have a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of organizations that rely on volunteers.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Once a year, we basically put it out there for them to send out some thank yous, and we invite some different organizations to write, what volunteers mean to their business, what volunteers, what a role might look like within the organization. And so they're
very, very important. They are a major gear in any business.
Yep.
I've said, oh my God, I don't know. If I got paid for all the volunteering I did, I would be retired already.
Yeah.
It's been 40 plus years for me.
Yeah.
And even all this I just volunteer all this. This is on my time, my budget, my everything, right? I just do this because I really like your stories that you're bringing to the people. I want to do the same thing, but I want to bring the people that people may see you, they know you, maybe they know you do these magazines, but they don't know you.
Yeah.
This is why we want to do this.
Well, I'm always shocked. I originally was reluctant to put my picture. When Staci passed, I sort of took over the role of writing stories and sort of choosing which stories get in and that sort of thing.
Right.
And so I was reluctant to put my picture in there because, as a salesperson, I was always sort of in the background. I wanted businesses to know who I was, but general public didn't need to know who I was.
Right.
But Terry Carroll, who's been a good mentor over the years, who used to run the weekly news, he's like, "No, you got to have your picture in there." And it shocks me sometimes how many people will come up to me and talk to me about a story I've written. I was at the Horton Market, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yep.
And this gentleman came up to me. He's like, "I'm here today because of you. Because you talked about turkey schnitzel at the Horton Market, and I wanted to." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's great. Make sure you tell her that."
So
it's amazing.
What other than the St. Thomas one here, then? So what are all the communities that you publish for?
So I do 4 magazines on a regular basis. So we started with St. Thomas. About 3-4 months in, we were getting a lot of comments. "Hey, I love your magazine." Not a lot of seniors content. And we responded basically, well, we were not writing for seniors. We're writing for, a specific demographic here in town.
Okay.
But we knew that there was enough interest that we decided, hey, let's try a seniors magazine for St. Thomas Elgin. And so we launched Boomers and Beyond in October of 2018. It went over very well. There's definitely, we do that one through pickup locations because we couldn't mail to seniors only.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we put it out in lots of different locations. I think we're at about 60 different locations across Elgin where we drop copies every issue. It went over well, and then after a few months of that, we were not necessarily growing bored, but we had some extra time on our hands, and so we decided, why don't we launch a magazine for the rural community? Because there's nobody speaking specifically for them.
Yeah, that they are very important,
and they're in this area is a very important part of our community.
Absolutely.
So in May of 2019, we launched Real Living, which Real is an acronym for Rural Elgin Agricultural Living. I love an acronym.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then we put that out quarterly, and it's it goes to every farm in Elgin County as well as about 6,000 rural homes. So it's kind of an odd duck where we don't actually have drop copies. So if you don't get it in your mail, you don't see it.
You don't know. I never seen this one before.
But it's really we try to speak to that community. I try to speak to a lot of different experts in that community. Like I offered a rotating space for the OFA and different. There's a Sarah Mazak Sarah Harrison, sorry, who lives at Mazak Farms.
Okay.
She does a column every month called Out in Her Field. I don't pretend.
Oh, wow.
I don't pretend to know anything about agriculture.
Yeah.
Downtown St. Thomas is as rural as I've ever lived.
Okay.
But we just share stories about what's going on in the communities out there.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings me to a point, though. I was going to ask you, one of the questions was, can people write and publish a story in your magazine? But I see this is more, you're tailing it to specific individuals that are dealing with certain
so basically
topics.
Different experts. I welcome in, like Steve Bond does a monthly column in Hometown St. Thomas on health in general, but pharmaceutical stuff and even just healthy living. Sarah does one on being a rural business owner.
Oh yeah, amazing farms.
Yeah.
Okay.
The OFA talks about what's going on at the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, that sort of thing. So we wanted to give this opportunity to those type of people to reach out to their community, and
That's cool.
Right now, the internet is not very great in the rural community.
Yeah.
So when the OFA has a piece of information they want to get out to their members, some of them it's hard for a PDF of some substantial size to load. It could take 10, 15 minutes. So this is a way to get out there with just, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
This is different opportunities, that sort of thing.
I still like this though.
Yeah.
To sit down and look at this.
Yeah.
I missed that with the London Free Press and actually even the Times Journal back in the day, sitting on my breakfast and opening the paper. And
it's a certain demographic who likes print.
Yeah.
And basically 30 or over, pretty much would rather sit down with an actual magazine versus a tablet or their phone.
I can't do it online.
Yeah. That's sort of how we do pretty well.
Yeah.
Is people recognize the fact that they can sit down with and read this, and they can put it down and come back to it later, and rather trying to find something on their phone that they.
That's my favorite things right over there on those shelves.
Yeah.
Books.
Yeah.
I can't do ebooks. I can't do no.
Yeah. Print has a lot of power to it. Now it's very expensive.
Yeah.
The price of paper has not gotten any cheaper over the last few years. Yeah. So it's we basically rely on the good gracious of our advertisers. To allow us to put out this magazine, because it's a free magazine. We mail it out to depending on where you live. Port Stanley, we mail out about 3,000 copies. Real Living, we mail about 8,000 copies. Hometown, we mail 70 or 8,200 copies.
Wow!
And then we have some pickup locations as well. But that's all basically done because our advertisers believe in the product.
Yeah.
They like what we do. Yeah. And they get results from it.
I mean, at the very start of it, I guess people are more curious, and you'll get people that are willing to try it and show some support. But as you've got that behind you now, right? So you've got power to say, hey, we have all of these now. We have this coverage, which is pretty powerful. But I found our business communities, they really do support.
Oh, absolutely!
It's an amazing community. When I had the CEO for the chamber in here, Paul Jenkins, and we talked about the comradeship of the people, And I said when you attend a business after 5 meeting, and it's like you're with family.
Yeah.
It really has that feeling.
Well, I wrote an article about it in our upcoming March issue, which should be out next week. Basically talking about it's a small business feature and about making a small business, growing a small business, that sort of thing. And I talk about networking from my point of view.
Okay.
The chamber, going to a business after 5, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce is basically a must. Because for most small businesses, it's like $350. It's really a small price to pay to be part of a bigger community.
Yes.
And what I love about our chamber versus, say, London or a few other ones is they will introduce you. They will, if they don't know you, they'll come up and talk to you.
Yep. Yep.
And they want to know about your business, not just tell you about theirs.
Yep.
A lot of other bigger city networking, it's let me tell you about my business, and then I'll half-heartedly listen about yours.
Oh, yeah.
Where here is,
I get you.
I want to learn about your business, and you know what? Okay, well, your business doesn't really help mine, or I can't really work with you, but I know who can. And then we'll go introduce you to somebody else.
Cool.
So it's really, but at the same time, you have to make an effort to go. Okay. You can't just be a member. You can't just expect
that's
if you
right.
buy a membership, people will flock to you. No, you have to go out and make the effort. You have to network.
Absolutely. If you don't put effort into it, and it's going to show too. But I contacted Paul a little while ago. There was a certain thing I was looking for from a business, and I honestly didn't know if we had anybody here that did it. So the first thing I asked Paul was, do we have a chamber member that supplies this item that I need that I can go to without having to travel?
Mm-hmm.
I want to start here first.
Yeah.
And yet because with my company that I work for, and we're part of the Chamber of Commerce too, so I want to keep it in there and support them. Like, not only, we have many businesses that aren't chamber members, but there are a lot of members now.
Oh yeah.
And Paul was saying it's just amazing.
Yeah. They've grown about 150 in the last 2 years. Yeah. Which, for the size of our city is pretty impressive.
And I've had some of the members approaching me now that want to come on the show. And I said, absolutely. Like, let's promote your store and talk about it and how you started and all that kind of stuff, right? So exactly with your magazine, that's exactly how I wanted to find out, what was your driving thing behind it? And was Staci the one that's like, you're doing this, Geoff, and I don't care. You're going to pay for it. So you're not having people publish stories, but it's mainly specific areas, expertise in whichever field they're talking about. So who actually then prints your magazines?
So, we're printed at Impressions here in St. Thomas.
Oh, Impressions. Okay.
Which we're very proud of. They do an amazing job. They, they're basically never late, which is very important in our world.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to be able to say, we're printed locally. We don't have to wait for it to come from Toronto or from wherever.
Yeah.
It's here in town, and, I know they take a lot of sort of pride in sort of the different publications that Villager does.
Yep.
Because we're out there when, I put out about 20,000 magazines in a given month, but Villager publications as a whole, there's 12 of them, each putting out about 4,000 magazines each. So, that's a lot of people seeing an impression product.
That's true.
Which is very good.
The quality is fantastic. Yeah. The clarity, the colors, they're vibrant. They really, like, even when you look at that, it snaps your eye right away. Yeah. And of course, I know this home down in, everybody knows this one down in Port Stanley.
Yeah. And again, Staci was more the photographer than I am. She was the one who liked to take classes and liked to learn. I just use the camera and point and click. So nighttime photography is not my favorite. But it was.
Hey, you do well though.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of photography. My cameras now, they've been in the drawer for, I don't know, 3-4 years now. I haven't even pulled them out anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it really is, especially when you're doing the cover. It's good to use a good quality camera and let it do its thing. Put it on automatic for me, and
you know what drives me nuts, though, Geoff, is like a cell phone has more pixels and everything in it now than what my big camera had.
Oh yeah,
it's like the clarity on just an Android. Yeah, it's like wow.
I bought a fancy cell phone camera more than I wanted the camera to be better than the phone.
Yeah.
because I'm not always with my, with the SLR.
Oh, it is
and that
ticking.
sort of
I
thing.
know. I
But
know.
for certain things,
So how do you find then all the businesses in town or even in the community of the different areas you publish? So when you approach them, probably a lot of them you don't even have to approach anymore. Or are there still some that you're always pounding the pavement, knocking the doors? Is it a lot of just repeat now?
well, there's a lot of repeat,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
lot of repeat over, you did, and sometimes I help businesses by reminding them, by the way, you have a sale coming up. Would you like to do some advertising
really?
for it? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Cool.
Because I work so far in advance that I'm thinking about their sale before they are.
Good for you. Yeah, yeah.
But when we first started, I was very fortunate because I had been working for the paper for a few years. I had built that relationship with a lot of customers.
Nice.
But there was a lot of customers who weren't mine. They would
Yeah.
work for other salespeople. So for the first few years, yes, it was a lot of out the door and introducing myself and introducing the product. When Stace passed, that changed.
Okay.
Partially because it was COVID. Nobody wanted to see you.
You know what? Yeah, that's.
And the other part of it is now I was taking on the responsibility of the editorial side, so I had I had to do that as well, which meant I spent a lot more time on my keyboard. Okay. I would spend more time emailing people, and I really miss going out and interacting with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I brought on some writers over the years because, again, it's not my favorite part of the job. It's not why I got into doing what we do. And they're fantastic, and they allow me to get out of the house a bit more often because they're doing those stories. But yeah, most people.
What year did Staci pass away?
In 2020.
It was 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Why'd she pass away?
So she had bladder cancer.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it spread a little bit, but it was.
So it was aggressive.
We didn't know it at the time.
Okay.
She had some surgery to address it, and then they figured out it, progressed beyond that. But she still wasn't supposed to pass.
I know. I talked to you after. Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise.
She obviously, and I believe this. She was done here, and she's needed somewhere else. Like she has to work somewhere else. That's why her time was called. But I know I talked to you shortly after that, and it was hard for you to adjust keeping these going, like switching over to running it all by yourself.
Yeah, it gave me something to focus on, which was good.
Yeah.
I mean, even the month she passed.
Well, she'd want you to, right?
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Your legacy.
She was very proud of these products.
Yeah.
Like she was immensely proud of what she was doing and what we were doing. So yeah, she would not have wanted.
I got
to
a
see
couple
it go.
of pictures. I think we probably already have them on the screen here now when they're watching it. But I got a couple. I think when your child was born and stuff. I kind of I love going through people's Facebooks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find the coolest pictures in there, But it's just a shame. It's hard though when you lose your spot. I know when I lost mine, it was pretty devastating, and I learned a lot from it though. I grew a lot from it. I was able to talk to people that recently would lose, their significant other, and you have that connection with them because you've been through it. Now everybody's different. Don't get me wrong, but yeah. It's a different type of pain that you can't imagine what it's like. So even just losing my mom last month is a different feeling altogether because it just a spouse to a parent is still pretty different. So
well, and we were we'd basically been together since we were kids. Kids.
So you guys grew up,
and we sort of gone through all the major milestones together, and then we were business partners. Yeah, which we worked really well.
You
together.
had a unique partnership because to work together, live together, play together. Yeah,
we learned to define roles.
Good for you.
And so that there was always an ultimate. I had the final say on this. You can disagree with me, but but at the end of the day, it also saved fights going on, but longer than they should.
How many times did she ever offer to run you over in the chair?
Never. I was always pushing.
You were always pushing? Okay. Your role on the Chamber of Commerce. So how did this all come about? What are you on there?
So I work on the Impact Awards Committee.
Okay.
That's my role. Yep. Basically, my role within the group is I put together the swag bags for the different nominees for the Impact Awards. Okay. Which, basically because I know a lot of business community members and have no problem asking for things. Yep. We basically put together a really awesome bag of different, products from around the community to show the community support for each of the nominations. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of, it's pretty awesome to receive one of those. I received one myself back in...
Yeah, which I have the picture with you doing the whole pose there.
Yeah. So, I was just happy to be nominated.
What did we call you? I said Super Jeff, but you...
It was my Heisman Trophy.
Heisman Trophy,
yeah.
Yes.
But,
right.
I was really happy just to be nominated.
Okay.
But to win was excellent. And then I won again with the Small Business Enterprise Bridges to Better Business.
You had a couple.
Later that year for another award. So it's always...
I had a nomination.
Yeah.
I didn't win that, but I was so happy to see the guy that won it.
Yeah.
Barry.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
You were in tough competition.
Oh, absolutely.
But there is no easy competition in any of those.
No.
Like it's
just to get nominated though was cool.
Well, because the process is
cool.
not easy to do an impact award.
I heard somebody already this year for the nominations. They called me and said, "Hey, I put your name back in for you." I was like, "Oh, did you really?" It's like, no, it's all right.
Well,
but
it's a great recognition of the community that we have.
Yeah.
And I'm a big supporter of the chamber. I'm not on the board. I'm not,
Okay, so you're not an actual board member then?
Not a board member.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I limit myself. So one of the things I did a few years after Staci passed is I recognized that, Graham, my kid, is a little older. I don't need to be home all the time.
Right.
So I can go out and join some more activities around the town and join some more committees. And I've limited myself to 4.
Okay.
But, I worked with the Impact Awards Committee. I'm on the library board.
Okay.
Proud member of the library board. I think that's a really, really amazing organization we have here in town.
Yeah.
I work with the seniors picnic in the park.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I joined them last year because a lot of the committee members.
Well, it's good because you're getting older too, right? So
yeah.
you're gonna be in there picnicking one day.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, but it's a great community event.
Yeah.
And like all things, if you don't have support, it will go away.
Yeah, of course.
And so a lot of us joined last year for the first time just to make sure it continues. Yeah. And then I do a St. Thomas Seniors Got Talent event.
You're in that one.
Yeah. Okay. So it was something I had been dreaming of.
You know who you guys are going to miss a lot? I think it was the Dancing with the Stars. Maybe that was the one. Eleanor.
Yeah.
Robson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was Dancing with Stars.
Dancing with Stars, yeah. What an amazing lady.
Yeah.
Her dancing.
But I had a dream of putting this event together for years, and eventually I just said, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
We had our second one last year. We raised money for Hospice of Elgin. But at the same time, it's an amazing, fun event. Yeah. And we sell out every year. And we sell out quickly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. All right, so we're rolling up here. Oh, we're at 57 minutes. Wow. God, I keep hitting my mic. What do you see in the future? Where do you want to go? Here's another one of these self-evaluation things. But
I'm happy.
Are you happy with what's happening? You just want to keep it going and keep sharing the stories?
It keeps me pretty busy as it is.
Okay.
Some people have asked me to do some different communities, and I said, there's no time for me to go out and do it because if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. Yeah. And that means I have to be there. And if I can't be there, then...
I like to see growth in certain areas of business, but at times I don't want to see growth either. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to see where your publication would get where you got 2 or 3 people out there now doing stuff and you're trying to cover more. And that to me, I think loses its personal touch. And sometimes some businesses get too big.
Well, and I'm a very small team, tight team. And, we're very proud of what we do. And,
cool.
We can always grow a little bit bigger within the different magazines, but I don't see myself doing any more.
Okay. I'm going to, let me see. I'm going to hold up some pictures here and we're going to show them on the screen.
Sure.
What is this?
So the Queso Station had their 150th last year.
Okay.
They did a bit of a skit and they asked different members of the community to come in and play a small part in the skit with no lines. And so I was asked to be the photographer of, I believe it was the Jumbo incident, but I don't remember.
Oh, okay, all right.
I was asked to be the photographer of the group.
Okay, I was going to say that kind of reminds me of like the 1920s, 30s.
That's what we're going for, yeah.
Okay, yep, that's what I got from that. Oh yeah, there's that little
Super Impact Awards,
that's which we've already showed that one on there. But okay, now this one I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, I remember this in the movies. Almost every woman would always say, I don't want that in my house. You probably have an idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, the
but
leg lamp. Yeah, we went down.
That's such an iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to the Christmas Story Museum in Cleveland a couple of years ago, and
that was the one from the movie.
That was it was probably a replica of the one from the movie, but it was in the location where they actually shot the movie.
Really? Oh, okay.
And so it was pretty awesome.
That's so cool.
I love that movie.
Smile on your face of that. Now, this one I found really unique. I actually love it. Is you standing in front of Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. So
that is so cool.
I love history.
Yeah.
I love to travel, but I don't like to fly. So most of my trips are road trips, and I did that one with my brother, and I convinced him to go to Mount Rushmore. We were on our way to Deadwood.
Yeah.
And
what was the feeling like to be there looking at it?
It was surreal. It really is. Like, a lot of people say it's not worth the time, and to me, I will say it is absolutely worth the time. It was amazing.
To think of the carvings and how they did that.
And the funny thing is, I was in the gift shop. I was talking to the lady. She asked where I was from. I said I was from St. Thomas. She goes, "Oh, I'm from Hamilton."
Oh, really?
And then we were talking. I was like, "What is the odds that I'm going to run into somebody, from Ontario in the U.S. gift shop?"
Just randomly. Well, I had that in Gainesville, Florida, when I drove down to Key West. When my brother lived there, I went into this little corner shop, and I seen the in the cooler they had Labatt's Blue, and it said imported from Canada. And I kind of went over, and they had a little grill. So I went over and I said burger and some fries, and I said I was just laughing at your Labatt's Blue. She goes, "Yeah, what part of Canada are you from?" Yeah. And I said, "Oh, how'd you know I was from Canada?" She said, "Well, I can tell by your accent." Yeah. And I laughed. I said, "My accent." She goes, "Where are you from?" I said, at that time I was living on a farm in just outside of Elsa Creek. So I said, not too far out of London, Ontario, on a farm. And she goes, "Oh, you're pretty near Stratford." And I went, "Oh, you know Stratford?" "Oh, yeah, we go to the Festival Theater there all the time." And I'm like, "Gainesville, Florida." Yeah. Just right around this little corner store. That was pretty good. Now, this is, what's going on here? Is that not the Resolute desk?
It is.
Like were you actually in the White House?
Oh, no. We were at the JFK Museum.
Oh, okay. So that's the actual replica of...
Yeah. My brother and I went on another, as I call it, geek road trip. We went to the JFK Museum in Boston, and, that was basically set up for, to replicate the JFK Jr. under the desk type thing. And so it was pretty amazing to see that sort of history. And
something else just popped in my mind when you said about under the desk, but I'm not going to go there on that one.
Yeah, no, different.
We'll leave that for the Clintons. But anyway, okay, rapid fire. We're going to close off. Thanks again. All right, for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I really, really appreciate that. So, where people get these books or the magazines? Where are they?
Most of them are in mailboxes, but Port Stanley, there's about 10 different locations. St. Thomas, we have 20 different locations. You can go pick it up.
Okay.
Do you want me to list off locations?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. Just right on.
The Briarwood Farm Market, Yerkes Pharmacy, Gearlinks Home Hardware, Cannondale's Senior Center, Why Not Cookies, Streamliners. We drop off at all the retirement homes.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got a good smattering.
And you do that yourself too. You drive.
Oh, I have a driver now.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I learned long ago that sometimes life is short, and just if you can pay somebody to do something that would take you too long, do so. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, rapid fire. Here we go. What's your favorite food?
Lasagna.
Lasagna? Yeah, good choice. All right. What makes Geoff mad?
Not a lot.
Not a lot?
No, it's very hard to get me mad. Somebody really has to be trying to get me mad.
Really?
Yeah, I am pretty easygoing.
Okay. I never thought that. I thought, boy, I could get him going. Favorite place to go off and hide? So I guess it would be, what would be your happy place? Just say you're having a rough time, bad day. We all have bad days.
Yeah, I like to head at home.
Just head home?
Yeah. I mean, I work from home, so it's where I am most of the time. But I'll probably be off playing a video game if I need to relax and calm down for a little bit.
Okay. And what's your thoughts on the streets of St. Thomas? Like our roads?
It's construction season soon, and some of those potholes.
I keep hoping that just certain streets are. The one that gets me all the time, though, is Old Talbot. Oh my God! You come in from Fingal and come up the hill by the old dog park, go down there. That's just awful. That's pretty nasty. So,
well, we all hate living through the construction, but we all hate it when it's not being done.
Oh, so. I know. Yeah. How dare they do the construction? But yet, why aren't they fixing our roads? So, I know. I get it. So, All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Right.
Appreciate it.
My
So
pleasure.
hopefully everybody gets out and pick up these magazines. Pretty cool stories.
Yeah, we're
And,
very proud of what we do, and yeah, I hope you do.
All right. Thanks again.
All right.
There you go, folks. Geoff Rae, the owner, editor,
Managing editor.
Okay, there you go. Hometown Magazine, Port Stanley Villager. We got Boomers and Beyond. That's a pretty cool one. So that's 50, 55 and
55.
over. 55 plus. There you go. Pick that one up. There's some pretty cool things in there. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you share and tell your friends about the show, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye. There you go.